Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland, New York, New Jersey,
Indianapolis,
California,
Utah,
Michigan,
Iowa, Massachusetts,
Georgia,
Canada,
Our home resort is
Animal Kingdom,
Polynesian,
Bay Lake Town,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head,
Boulder Ridge,
Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs,
Beach Club,
and Wilderness Lodge.
and you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening
to
to my DVC Points.
Well, welcome home, everybody, to another edition of the My DVC Points Community Hall Live. I would like to welcome to the show today our co-host, Alicia. How you doing today, Alicia?
Hey, we had sunshine. I feel great.
I'm telling you, wasn't it a great day here in Michigan?
Finally.
So, yes. So that was incredibly awesome. And so let's go someplace else with awesome weather and invite our other co-host back, Shannon.
Hey, well, we actually had thunderstorms. Yay. But our lawn needed it, so it was fine. It was a great time to take a nap.
Got it. So, well, thunderstorms, I mean, I'll take that over ice storms, Shannon. So
I anytime.
Snow 3 straight days last week. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's always good to have. That's always good to have. So I'm looking forward to some good weather coming to Michigan here. And let's welcome back to the show, Marianne. How are you doing today, Marianne?
Good. How is everybody? It's
Hey,
good
Marianne.
for you guys.
Hey, we're doing great. And we've got an exciting show today. All kinds of good news this week. So
Yeah.
just exceptionally good news this week. So I think it seems like the video that we did last week on all of these DVC member concerns, like by Friday, we got an email and it addressed a lot of them. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I think they watched the show.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, you hear all kinds of podcasters go, Disney, if you're listening. And I'm just going, man, that was a little eerie the way it was so dead on with our content. But so maybe they are. If they are, we're welcome to them to the show. We love your product and we're pretty respectful of it. So, but we also want to come back in and articulate what's on members' minds as well. So that being said and done, let's jump into today's agenda. And first off, what's everybody's countdown?
I'm a good 210 days if we head out to California.
210 days. Okay.
I am about 90 something for end of July for our DVC trip, which is planned to be a staycation. So it looks like it will probably be a staycation at Beach Club. But we also have a cash reservation for June in case the parks open up that we can cancel at any time. So.
Got it. Marianne?
63 days.
Oh, you and Shannon Leonard are like one day apart.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have my Moonlight Magic ticket, so I'm praying and praying and praying that it all comes together. So
Mine canceled.
That's so sad.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it too. So Tuesday was a sad day when we realized, we should be surprising our son and driving to Disney today. So
yeah. So yeah, we're but you know what? If it's resorts only, this is the time. Oh man.
Yeah.
Saratoga fans. Yes, we are. For the first 2
I'm
days
telling
of
you,
our
I
trip,
have
2 days. But
I
then
have a
we moved to
reservation at
Boardwalk.
Saratoga in like 24 days.
Yeah.
And the issue is I had a listener said, hey, I've got a bunch of points. They're going to expire. And so I ended up taking some of his points and transferring him some of mine and booked it. But now the reservation's not in my name and DVC won't say beep to me about it.
Shoot.
They're like, we're not even going to email you if we cancel it. And I'm like, well, why am I bothering filling out all of this? When I do a reservation for somebody else, why am I putting in their email address and their phone number if you guys are never going to step in and use this stuff?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just like befuddled on it. So anyways, I'm hoping that thing doesn't cancel, but it's looking like it will. And then I've got like 3 days at Saratoga, about 3 or 4 days, a couple of days at an Animal Kingdom Grand Villa scheduled.
Oh, wow.
And so that got rebooked. Okay. Cause they're pretty confident that that's going to be moved. And that's for Terry Weaver's The Thing conference.
Okay.
And then after that, we're going to the resort that his conference is at for 3-4 days. And then I have a couple of days at BLT scheduled that are on my points. So we'll be interesting to see what's happening. I'm going to figure out just in case and maybe pull the trigger on that at day 31.
And what's the date for this again?
May 23rd is when I'm supposed to check in.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple of days at Saratoga and then 2 nights at Animal Kingdom and then like 3 nights off property and then like 2 or 3 nights back on property.
That was a lot of planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It
Well,
definitely was.
I'm really excited, and I'm okay if it turns out to be a resort-only trip, Chad, because after our first 2 nights at Saratoga, we're moving to Boardwalk. I'm staying at a resort other than Saratoga Springs.
I'm like, that's just proof positive that I have some level of social media influence. I got Marianne to go someplace other than Boardwalk.
And
Other than
try that
Saratoga.
creepy clown pool. And so if it was a resort-only stay, we get the creepy clown pool for 5 days. I guess
And the
I'm okay
community
with that.
and the community hall.
Is the Boardwalk Community Hall good? Because we love the one at Saratoga.
Yeah, that's right. Saratoga has one too. But yeah, and especially if you're doing a resort-only stay, a community hall is crucial.
Yeah, we love doing that at Saratoga. We've done that quite a bit. So
Yep. So let's
Now, the
check in
last
on the
time-
audience here as well. And it looks like Maria's got 122 days. Shannon's got 64 days. Scott's 125. And Lynn says, hey. Amy said 60 days. And she made her fast passes today. So awesome.
Oh.
Awesome. And then 120 days and 180 days too. You're on like a 60-day cycle there, I'm seeing.
I like that cycle.
Yeah.
I like that cycle a lot.
I love the picture. Did you see the little?
It was
Yeah,
cute.
the little baby Yoda.
With
Wearing
a
a mask. With a mask. Mike is saying 64 days, 196 for our buddy Randy. And he's our SSR buddy there, Marianne.
Yep.
223 for Dan Austin, according to the My DVC Points app. So,
Excellent. Good job.
yep. Good job there. And 190 for Heather. Oh, Michelle says October Food and Wine Festival, 118 days to Alani. And if I had to bet on anybody who's going to make that, I think they're going to open up Alani soon. So that's the one I'm thinking will open up first, but we'll have to find out.
I think Hilton Head personally, but
Well, it could be because it's them southern states that are pretty relaxed on the laws and the implementation. So
yeah, I think Hilton Head and Vero will open first, or Vero will open up along with Walt Disney World.
Amanda was talking about she has kids. She's not sure she'd like a resort only stay. Amanda, I take kids too, and actually we really like resort days.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be surprised. It's better than nothing would be the opinion in my family.
It depends
It's
on
kind
your.
of addictive.
It also depends on your kids.
Yes.
And the age.
Yes.
And the resort, because we had resort days, and I talked about this before. We had a resort day for our vacation at the Poly, and it rained and it was cold and it was hard because there wasn't really much to do.
The Poly is not a good place.
It's not a good place. So you think it is if it's warm and it's sunny, but that's something just to consider. Like that's where the community hall and things that are indoors are always key.
And the resort stays don't have to be always at your own resort. I mean, that's the great
That's
thing
true.
of DVC.
That's
So,
true.
59 days for Got to Travel, 121 for Amanda, 63 for April. Brandy was
Awesome.
supposed to be at Disney arriving yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brandy.
Yeah, and Brian was supposed to be coming home today. So the good news is, Brian, you don't have any post-Disney blues to deal with, right?
You're not on the Tragical Express.
Yeah, you're not on the Tragical Express. You're watching the live show now. So
You're not at
you're hanging out with your
MCO.
friends, right?
You're not at MCO dealing with MCO, waiting in a
Yeah.
2-hour security line.
It's probably not 2 hours right now, though.
No, probably isn't.
Yep. And then, Amy comments here that the 60-day cycle wasn't intentional, that she had to rebook the March to August, and it's a long trip for Michigan. I know it's a long trip every 60 days because that's about my normal park cycle. So I'm familiar with that one. Danielle.
Gotta get away and travel. I don't like to hear that you heard the pools and stuff won't be open that early. Oh,
So
that made me
the last
sad.
time I went to Florida, I was, I ran down and checked on my mom. And while we were down there at Sarasota, they closed the pools at like 5 o'clock during happy hour. Not a good idea. But they closed them while we were on vacation. And it definitely changes your vacation mode to not have the pools available. So, and it was hot without a pool time. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that when they open, the pools are open as well.
Got it. Just finishing up this element here. Joshua's 152 days for Alani.
Woohoo.
Yeah, Brandy's not going to August, November now. And 108 for Patricia. June 4th at Beach Club. Man, we have got to be getting away soon here. And so, yeah. So, man, we are 229 for Samantha. And I think that's the last comment that I see on going home. So that's a pretty good clip, man. We're all like dying to get home. So you could just tell from this conversation here tonight.
Yep.
So in the next item on our agenda today would be coming in and well, just the elephant in the room is that email that came out on Friday, right?
Yes.
The email regarding expired points, bank points, and only
I'm
half
sorry.
use of
It was
borrowed.
confusing, right? I didn't get it. Like, so you need to explain to me what is this about?
So, well, first off, I think that the most interesting thing in there was the comment was only saying that it was applied to May and June use years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it was use year and dates. And then
I personally think they would not have made this announcement and come out with a new policy if they didn't think the resorts are going to be open in June or July. That's my assumption. That's my guess. I'm going with it. August 1st, you could tell me I was wrong. I don't think they would have come out and made a decision if they didn't have the plan that these resorts were going to be open. Maybe not the parks, but the resorts.
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense as well, because they limited this to May and June use years. And so there is no July use year.
Right.
So the next one impacted would have been August.
Right.
But you would have had until May 30 or March 31st to bank your points.
But they are, if you look in the frequently asked questions, it's not in the letter, because I have an August use year. And if you look in the frequently asked questions, if you missed your banking window and you had a resort stay that was affected by the closure, you will call and they will allow you to bank your points.
Got it.
So they are making that exception if you missed your banking deadline because of the closure. If you missed your banking deadline because you forgot, you're out of luck. But if you missed your banking, if you for example, I had a reservation in April. We ended up canceling March 30th and banked the points, kind of figured it was not going to happen. But if we hadn't, it would have been canceled and we would have been able to bank those points.
That makes
that's something that they didn't notice. And then also, that's not in the letter, but in the frequently asked questions, if you had a June use year and you moved those points at the 45, I think it was April 17th was the deadline, you move those points into RCI, you could call and get them unmoved from RCI back into DVC.
I think that's a critical point that we have to point out.
Yes.
You have to go to the frequently asked questions.
Yes.
Because there was just one little link in there that went to it. And there's all kinds of good, juicy details in there.
Right.
And the devil's in the details on these kind of things. Okay. So you've really got to come back in and figure that out, or just call member services and ask them to interpret for you.
So I really think they are doing right by their members. The closure didn't really affect me personally. This is going to affect me. We are my 7-month window is on the 29th. So it is going to affect our stay and for the next year and a half, probably. But I think they did right by the members, and I think they did what they should have done.
So what did the 50% thing? What was that about?
Oh, the borrowing. You can explain that.
So yeah, just seeing if I've got any other notes here. And yeah,
Shannon mentioned something. The new 50-point rule really hurts small point contract people, but shoots them in the foot, as is the only way for add-on-itis right now because it's resale.
So I think the thing with this banking and borrowing rules is it does give everybody the chance to somewhat use their points. The key point here on the 2018 bank points, they only have 6 months to use those.
And there's not much availability.
And there's not much availability there. So it's
So-
kind of like good luck using those.
And I the one thing I was wondering, and I didn't see it, is the 6 months starting from when the parks reopen? Because the resorts reopen. I would think it's 6 months from when the resorts reopen, or is it 6 months from when they expired? That's going to be a difference too.
From when they expired is the way I read that.
Yeah, and
So-
that's going to be crucial, because if you lost your points March 31st, you have until August 31st, right? Is that my math? August? Yeah, September, maybe. Yeah, September 30th. It's not a lot of time.
Mm-mm.
And
You're
not a
not
lot
even-
of availability.
No, there's definitely not, but it'll allow them to put them into RCI or something. So it's better than nothing, okay? But at the same point in time, it's like those people had those points for 2+ years that they could have used them. So, and then the other part that I thought was strange there was the developer points are excluded. And those were just like the free points if you bought a contract or something, and they did some gimme points on that one.
And that
It's
makes
incredible
sense.
that they can figure that out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
I
well, they're
think
all,
that makes sense.
and that makes sense to me. I just thought it was kind of an odd little side comment to throw in there. But then that's the accommodations part, okay? And as we already talked about,
So Cindy said it's 6 months from their expiration.
yeah.
So yeah.
And so the consequences are everybody is going to be able to only borrow 50% per contract. Okay? That's the key crucial part. It's per contract. And when you've got 6 home resorts like I do, that really kind of shoots you in the foot a little bit. Because I could handle if they said, hey, you can only borrow 50% of your points. But like next year I'm going to Alani. And I bought a Saratoga contract just to use at the 7-month mark.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to be able to use all of those Saratoga points at the 7-month mark by borrowing them.
Wow.
And so that's kind of, not so great. But
And is that
And-
to limit demand then, you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. And Shannon points out as well, the 50% rule really hurts us as small contract people.
Yeah.
But it also shoots them in the foot as the only way for add-on itis right now is resale. And resale is lit up busy.
It is.
Like every time I talk to those guys over at DVC resale market,
Wow.
they are working 15, 18-hour days.
Is it because the price is up or down?
Well, the price
Down.
is soft a little bit, but it's not like it's bargain basement. The floors fell out of the market. Okay. Because if you're talking about like Beach Club was going for 150 a point, it might be going for 142, 143 now.
I've
Yeah.
noticed quite a bit of Saratoga, because that would be where we would add on would be Saratoga, in the 93 to 95 range.
I saw them in the 90s too.
And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I paid 96 for my points in 2017. And so I looked at Tom the other night and said, wow, if we were going to add 50 points, if I could find an October 50-point contract, I'd jump right now to get it, because it would be less than what I paid for it originally. So I don't know, but I do feel bad. And I'm totally getting where Shannon's coming from, because we have plenty of points, except for the fact that I use too many points. And so I'm always in this constant state of borrowing. And so I don't know that we will be able to go in 2021 at all, because with that borrowing rule in place. And it is what it is, but
It hurts,
it is what it is. And I get availability. It's trying to save availability, because availability is going to be a nightmare.
And I think it could be worse. So the borrowing does not affect us. We borrow, but I never borrow more than 50%. So that does not affect us at all. But I will say it could be a lot worse. They could say no borrowing or no banking. So, and I think Jad, you and Joe talked about this on a previous show, and so it could be a lot worse. I think they really crunched I think they really crunched the numbers. They did I think they did the least that they had to do to make availabilially it's going to be tough. I'll probably have to be Saratoga in December, which I'm fine
not
with.
opposed to the 50% rule. I'm a little opposed to the way it was implemented. I think it should have been you can't borrow more than 50% per member number.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Because what I normally do, like I normally bank my beach club points and then go
Right.
1 year, an 11-month booking.
Mm-hmm.
I have about 60% of what I need for a booking.
Mhm.
So by banking, I've always got a little bit extra.
Right.
So I might, bank beach club and borrow Copper Creek this year.
Right.
And then I get my 11-month booking. Okay.
I just don't see that it's a purpose, period. Because like if you see a family, because I'm a small contract person and it's a graduation year, and let's say you wanted to go and everything was booked up, and the only way to go was to stay at a nicer resort or the cabins or stay, then you're going to have to say, well, I'd rather borrow all of my points from next year, put it all into one, and I'd still be able to go, but we're going to stay at this schwanky place. So I just don't understand.
That's
the
true
purpose.
too, right?
Yeah.
I think
Right.
that's a really good point because
very
I
good
was
point.
planning on a grand villa at Alani next year.
Right.
But if I can't,
Yeah.
scrape out that Saratoga contract for 2022 points or
Yep.
2023 points in 2021, okay, if I can't pull those ahead to pull that off, and here I am taking one of the most expensive resorts that's out there. So it's like, it's not like I'm booking 8 studios with those points.
That's what I'm saying. The studios are
Okay.
going to go so fast. Anyway, they're probably already gone. So, like, why not let them, take a points from next year? And maybe then they'll have the add-onitis next year and they'll buy more because they would still want to go, but I just don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pick up some of the
Absolutely.
the comments here on this as well. So Samantha's writing, availability at 7 months is going to be tough for a little bit, but I'm okay with it as long as I'm at Disney. I don't care. I think really DVC really did try to do the right by as many
I
members
agree.
as they could.
I
I
agree.
agree with that 100%.
Yep.
Yep.
Same
And like I
here.
said, I don't it's easier to just say 50% per contract because you've got to create rules that are easy to understand and easy to implement and easy to follow. Okay, and 50% per contract is probably the easiest way to code it. It's the easiest thing for member services to help explain and enforce, right?
Right.
And then Christina was saying June use year, we were going to lose 50 points, but she's happy with the policy change. I'm very happy you're not losing your points.
Yes.
And
I'm happy that really nobody is losing their points. The DVC is trying very hard to make it
yeah,
work. So
they are definitely doing the right thing. Right?
but they're doing more than they ever needed to do contractually. So
Yep.
we're blessed
I
that
agree.
they're a good company.
Yeah, very, 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 very much so. And Scott writes, is the 50% rule only currently for bringing 2021 points into 2020? It is all reservations going forward where you would want to borrow
Until they say otherwise.
until they say otherwise, right?
Right.
So, yep. So that's a really good clarification there.
I think
And
until things shake out and
Yeah.
things settle down.
The only good thing also I can see on it is that it also doesn't strip points. So like your contract will always be left with something.
yeah,
Yeah.
True.
I mean, for constant borrowers, okay, the borrowers were going to come back in and kind of get a little bit ahead on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was all the people with the bank points that were running into the real problems. Now it's going to shift it back over some to the people who constantly borrow out.
Right.
Okay. So they might just have to sit back and force to catch up a little bit, right?
Right.
Oh man.
And Dan says, as soon as the 6-month grace period for using bank points has passed, you think they'll relax the 50% borrowing restriction? That's a really good point. Okay. I think they're going to be constantly monitoring this and doing that. Like they said in their email, they're going to do the best they can to get us back to normal as quick as they can. Okay.
I'm thinking 12 to 18 months personally.
I think it's in DVC's best interest to get us all back to borrowing again, because as soon as you borrow all of your points, you start going shopping for more points.
Right.
And then when they build something new, like Reflections or the new property in California, you're looking to buy a contract because
Right.
you're all of a sudden going, oh, I have to have points. I have to have points. So
Yeah. Kenny's picking up what you're laying down here. Okay. That he's saying he's going to need more points, right?
yeah.
And then our buddy Grant has said, overall, I agree. DVC has done the best they could. However, no matter what they do, there will always be winners and losers. Yep.
Yes.
Can't agree with you more. And I'm satisfied with the the response, but if I can't get my Alani trip in, I might be a big loser.
Oh,
So, well, we're crossing that fingers for that Alani trip. So
our hearts are breaking for you because that would be sad because those are
yeah.
that's not just the trip down home. That's the big bucket list trip. So,
Yeah.
So Amanda says, if you have a June use year, when are you supposed to bank your points by normally?
I believe it's January.
So it would be, yes, it
End
would
of
be
January.
end of January, because you'd have to go May, the day before, okay,
Mm-hmm.
would be May. So it would be 5 something minus 4 would be 1 something.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had to do that mental math.
I think I need a
I guess-
whiteboard.
I'm August. I'm August and it's March, so I just kind of moved up too.
Well, and that's a really good thing. You know, the rule of thumb here is you always need to come back in and bank 4 months before your use year begins.
right.
Okay. So 4 months before your use year begins, and you'll be all set.
May
So-
30th is my banking day because I'm an October use year.
Okay. You should be good. You should.
I should be
I think
good.
we should know where we're at May 30th, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Yeah. And then Grant was saying, I agree with Shannon that it'll be a year or so. Well, we will get back to normal on this as well.
Right.
And that's the thing that we don't know on here is we don't know what the normal ecosystem had in it for those who borrow a lot versus those who bank a lot. So we weren't sure where we were in that. Only DVC would know that piece of it. Okay. And
So Russell brought up a good question regarding the letter, not regarding the points, but about the dues. Do you want to address that, Chad?
yeah, I'm going to get to dues in
Okay.
a second.
Okay.
So what will happen if they don't open up in June? That will affect the 6-month extension and the other use years as well.
Yeah.
That very well could, because let's say they're down another 3 months.
That's where I think that they're planning on opening the resorts at least June 1st.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they
I,
could have let us ride in limbo. They
Yeah.
could have.
I think they have at least a resort. I think the resorts were open before the parks. And I think they have a June 1st, date in mind for the resorts being open. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come up with this announcement. Personally, that's just, again,
And I think some of the restaurants are going to open
Yeah.
as well.
well, they have to have something to people, because even like if you're at Pop, they have to have something. You can't just not feed people.
And I think Pop would be easier because it is all takeout anyway currently. But maybe, the buffets might not be open for a while.
Yeah, the buffets. I mean,
They're the buffets are gonna be an issue here. So anyways, we covered the accommodations and the rules, we covered the consequences, and then the next item on our agenda is the credit for the surplus of the maintenance fees. Okay. And we've already had a couple of comments on here.
Mhm.
So I'll just let Gina find them and pull them up. But essentially what they're saying is, we had that debate last week as to what will they do with this? Will they give us a refund? Will they apply this towards future credit? And it was almost like they addressed our conversation directly.
Right.
They said, right, we're not going to come back in and do a bank the money into the maintenance funds like we normally do when there's a surplus. We'll be issuing some type of credit. However, caveat, fingers crossed, we could have more expenses than we knew about.
Right.
And that was my comment last week. And I was like, as a business owner and a restaurant owner, we've had to dump a lot of money into our facility in order to get it even COVID ready, to even open for takeout. There is so many more
Wow.
expenses that, you don't even think of. We had to change everything to single use. We had to change everything to, have glass barriers between everything, changing the doors. Every door has to be adjusted so that people don't have to touch the handle to get in. So there's so much that has to go into changing the facility that I'm one that's going, I think it's going to cost money
Yeah,
to open back up.
And that's something like someone like me who doesn't have anything to do with the restaurants except that I eat in them, I would not have any idea. So I can see
Yeah.
that.
Well, and look at mousekeeping. Look at how much more detailed mousekeeping is going to be, and when they do reopen, they're only going to be at max 50% capacity. So they're going to have to be paying probably full 100% keeping 100% level mousekeeping for only 50% of the resorts being open. So that's going to cost a ton more also
Yeah.
for
And
DVC.
But I think in DVC, people are going to want to come back in and use those banked points.
Right.
So I think it's going to come back in and force people to come into that. But you're exactly right.
When they have to go to cleaning rooms every single day because of COVID, though.
Well, they won't be
don't-
doing DVC rooms for that.
You
No,
don't
I,
think they
I
will?
don't. No, because you're in the room. It's the families in the room. If you're not changing the room, why would they need to?
If it's not switching from one
Yeah.
family to the other, you're just going to clean my germs up from me. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what they've always done for us DVC members is they've empowered us to clean our own rooms.
Right.
They
Right.
have all of the products there. So I don't think that'll cost more that way. But I think just like when you're like checking in or at at the pools or just different things like that might be different.
It'll
Right.
be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And
The thing,
more transportation? Will they
yeah,
need more transportation?
The thing that I'm thinking is going to happen is I was going right there with you, Marianne, is the buses are going to be running at lower capacity.
Yeah.
Because you think about it now, it is a cattle call to get on those buses at
Oh,
night and in
yeah.
the mornings. And they pack as many people in there, suck it in, squeeze in. I think they're going to be coming back in and practicing social distancing on those buses. And next thing you know, instead of that bus holding 30 people, it's going to hold 15.
I think it's going to make the Skyliner, investment a lot more attractive. Maybe we'll have to add some more of those.
But see, the Skyliner, I thought the same thing because you could pretty much limit each gondola to a family, but the turnover. How do they disinfect the gondola after each family?
If they're
Because
used-
that-
foggers. So
And I thought about that actually, having a conversation with a friend of mine this week. So they fill a car, and a family gets out, and a cast member gets onto that car, rides to the next station. While they're riding, they're cleaning. They get off. So they're using every other car.
Yeah.
They only use every other car on the Skyliners.
So I know we have a lot of car rental places up here that you go on the dunes up at the Silver Lake Sand Dunes.
Sure.
And so they said that they have foggers that they just it's just a quick bzz, and it fogs down the whole place. So I'm sure that there's some kind of quick
Right.
process instead of just manually wiping things down.
right.
Yeah. Yep. But I think that's kind of it. And so, and just looking for more comments here on our agenda item.
I wonder if
Well,
they would
Well-
also be able to give things like when we stayed at the campgrounds when they had the Zika virus, right word. So when they had the Zika virus, they started giving every time you checked in, like the mosquito wipes to
Right.
every single family that checked in. So
They were
I
passing
wonder-
them out in Disney Springs.
Yeah, but they're still giving them out even at the campground now. So I just wonder what other things they're going to have to give us, just for their health code and like when we walk in the door.
And someone Amanda said she doesn't think that they're going to open the monorail in the beginning. So I don't know.
That's
You'll have a
like a
lot
tough
of-
one, right? It's like,
is.
so if they don't do that, they've got to get you to the park somehow. And
And the boat, the small boats from Holly
yeah.
and Grand are just, they're small. And then you have the ferry, which is, how do you get the monorail? There's really no other way to get to Magic Kingdom. It's the monorail, maybe the resort monorail, but the monorail, you got to get from the TTC. You can't park at Magic Kingdom. Like, we'll probably just drive. We have our car, so we'll drive to every other park except Magic Kingdom, but that's what we do anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to make driving look an awful lot more attractive there.
I agree.
So,
I'm with Grant Peters, who said he doesn't expect to get a refund. I'm kind of with Grant. I
I'm the
really don't
same.
expect to get one either.
I agree.
I would be shocked if we do, but it'll be nice if we can, because I know that those transportation expenses are huge, but it depends on when they open and how much longer they have to carry on the heightened stuff.
Right.
So it's nice that they addressed it though.
Yeah.
And it's really nice that they addressed that there.
And
Lauren,
talking to driving-
Lauren put free Lysol wipes for everyone.
Yeah.
If you can find them. I guess Disney could find them.
Yes.
yeah,
but-
there you go. Marianne, instead of having a cast member jump on between,
They're going to hand
cars,
you Lysol wipes.
here's your Lysol wipes as you walk in your Skyliner.
That's what a friend and I were talking about. Would be like on the cruises when you go to eat dinner on a cruise ship. They're standing there, washy. I think every ride you get on, there's going to be a cast member standing there going washy, and you're going to have to wash your hands with hand sanitizer before you get on a ride and when you get off the ride.
So we already purchased them for our restaurant. That was part of a big thing. Is that instead of that you have like the wet wipes. So they're little sanitizer pads that you hand out to every guest and say, we have sanitized the tables, but this is for your safety. Here you go. Like, so you're empowering the guests to take care of their own safety.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lysol, the new
the new Disney style. So,
Expect a candle to come out soon.
there you go. Right.
They'll probably make it smell amazing. They will.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 feet markers on the monorail.
And maybe they could stop people. Like there could be somebody there saying you're in the first car, you're in the second car, you're in the third car of the monorail.
Oh, Randy has a good idea here. The new walkway from the Grand Floridian. Okay.
Yeah.
So really then it's like only Polly is just kind of out of luck there.
You could walk from Polly. You'll be tired by the time you get there.
You might get there, but you won't get
Walk
home.
to the Grand Floridian and then on around. Okay.
Yeah. I've done
Scooter
that
Reynolds.
when I stayed at the Grand. That was the running path I did, which it's a nice running path. I don't know if I'd want to walk it before going to the park.
Yes, we will have our own branded Disney wipes as well. Okay.
I want the first order of them. Yeah.
With little Mickeys.
They'll be Mickey
Shaped
shaped.
wipe.
Will they be Mickey shaped?
Yeah. So, all kinds of fun stuff there. So, yeah, I think we've got a lot to look into there, and it'd be nice if we get the refund there. But I think there's going to be some other expenses that it's probably going to wash it away. So I'm not holding out hopes for it, but I think it was a nice thought, and I think it was great that they addressed the community concerns.
I agree.
Because I don't think we're the only ones that have that there as well. Another really quick topic this week. Marianne, you got a survey this week.
I did. I got a survey.
Get it.
I never get surveys.
I'm wondering if anybody else out there got a survey from DVC this week. So
What was on the survey? Maybe I took it and I don't remember.
It was asking me if I was happy with the amount of points I owned, the places I could go, all the extras that are included with DVC if you're a blue card holder. And then it asked if you would be recommending DVC to friends and that kind of thing. So it was a pretty general happiness survey, but it came before they sent that email out with the changes. So I wonder if they just sent it to a group of people, random selection of people to kind of have a baseline to know what they were getting into when they sent this email out.
They already know Chad talks about it so much, so they were like, we know all about Chad. We're not going to even ask him.
Yeah, we ain't going to send that guy an email, right?
Well,
We delete his when they come in now.
Someone
so.
said they got it today. Amanda said her husband got it today. So
Was it?
wow.
It was an email though, not a snail mail.
It was an email. And it took forever to do the survey because it was like 35 pages long.
They are always so long. Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't get it.
It was because you had screenshotted the survey and sent it.
Yeah, I had to put it in a Google album and just send the link to the people I sent it to because I was like, I can't email this. It'll take all day to email all this.
And just looking at the questions, it was like general member happiness.
Yeah, it was.
To me, I mean, I work for an organization that makes Disney look small. Okay.
Right.
And we're constantly sending out those emails as well and those surveys. And it takes forever and a day for our survey partner vendor to compile all that data and get back with us. So I don't think the two were correlated. To me, after I read the questions and looked at what's going on, it seemed like it was just their normal everyday survey thing going out. Because there was no corona-related questions on there at all.
There were no questions about the parks being closed or any of the problems that are going on. Oh, Carrie Ann got the survey. I'm looking over here. So it was interesting.
It was probably built months ago, even.
Probably, yeah.
Amanda said that it asked if you would do a resort stay only.
Yes, it did ask me that.
Oh,
So there was a question about a
that's
resort
a key
only.
question, I think.
And whether, that, and
Well,
It did ask me about RCI too, and what interests I had in RCI and that kind of stuff. And I'm just like,
but those are all good generic topics. I mean, we've
Yeah.
talked about resort only stays on the show since we
Mhm.
started, right?
right.
But
That's
that
a
could
normal
that could-
conversation.
be an inkling that they are thinking about opening the resorts before the parks, and would people
Mhm.
want to stay, at least DVC.
Yeah.
And
And
if-
I could see that.
And if I lived close enough that I could drive,
Right.
and
You can
I was in a
drive.
situation where I've got these points I'm going to use or lose, so
Sorry,
I
I was
love
just making
Alicia.
fun because I'm like, buddy, you can drive. I just made it in 19 hours. You would be 17 hours.
no.
I'm with you, Chad. No, 3.5 hours is my limit. But
I don't need to drive. My flights were so cheap for June at this point. I want to come. I'll come and do a resort only stay. I'm coming so cheap that it'll be
But
great.
if I had to fly in, I don't think I would do a resort only stay. But because we are within driving distance, we do resort only stays. But part of owning DVC is that you want to go to the park. So yeah, I could see where a lot of DVC members would say no, they don't want to do a resort only stay if it was a trip that they were planning on going to the park.
And not only that, but driving is my car and my germs. Okay.
Right.
When I'm on an airplane and it's recycled air and all of that stuff, I don't care what kind of foggers they're using. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I don't mind driving, but I do it a lot. But I know that none of y'all drive. We've already done that conversation. I'm
Yeah.
the only one.
So, yeah. So that's kind of that little brief survey deal. It'll be interesting. Keep your eyes out for it. And by all means, if you get a survey from Disney, take the time to answer the 36 questions. Honestly, they really need your data there, and
Right.
put it into it, because that's what I work in those departments for a living, and customer satisfaction and all of that. And it means the world to us to get fair, accurate, honest answers on that. So please take the survey if you get it.
Right.
So now the next question would be from the resort only stay, and pivoting on that. Actually, it works out well for our agenda items, because we were going to talk about what would it take to get you to go back to the parks.
Yeah. So I mean, I look at that as we run mass gatherings, and I'm like, what is it that people need? What would you feel safe and to wear or do or bring or be able to go experience for you at this point of walking in to a resort or to a mass gathering event? I mean, just to go see Frozen. That's a lot of people. Like, what would make you feel comfortable? Because it's scary enough just right now going to the grocery store.
It's not going to take me much. We like I said, we have a cash stay for June. If it opens, if it doesn't, we'll cancel. It's not a big deal, but it's not going to take much as far as feeling safe. Would we go to see Frozen sing along? Probably not. We would probably skip the theater type things, but we would be careful as far as social distancing inside the park. But I think we're kind of itchy to go. But where I think we've discussed with as a family is, if they require face masks in the park, that's where we would say we probably won't go, because I live in South Florida. It's hot. I have no problem wearing them to the grocery store for a short period of time and wearing them when I need to, but it's very uncomfortable. Do I want to go to Disney as a family and wear it all day long? No, I think that's where I would say, okay, I'll just wait until this lifts.
Where you're sweating constantly and constantly having to pull this down to drink, right?
And to breathe and
Yeah.
if you constantly have to pull it up, and you've already contaminated it. So because you're not even supposed to, that's why you see people always like, well, why are they wearing them in the car? Because you're not supposed to take it off until you get home. You're supposed to take it off, wash your hands, then take it off, because otherwise you're contaminating. You're pulling it down, up and down, you've got whatever's on the mask. So personally, I don't think that's going to be a requirement, but maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to do preventative measures to make sure anybody that has it is not entering the park. But that's just me. I just don't see us as Shanghai, where, they're going to be wearing, but that's a cultural thing. I know we were talking pre-show. That's a cultural thing. They were wearing masks before.
Because of the smog, right?
Yeah. So I just don't see it in Florida. But again, that could just be wishful thinking. But I think as a
Got
family, I'm not going to say we won't go, but I just don't see it.
Marianne, what would it take to get you back into the parks?
Well, we're going in June if it's open.
I was going to say a Mickey bar.
I mean, that's for real. The mask thing is for me. I'm kind of like Shannon. I'm not a fan of the mask. Mainly because I agree, you're going to touch it all the time. It's not going to really do any good it's not going to help me. Now, if it helps other people, I guess I'll get over my claustrophobia enough and learn how to breathe deep. Needless to say, I'm not the grocery shopper in my house. My husband is. And, he works for the United States government. So we have info at our house that, about all of this because he works for the Corps of Engineers, and he isn't concerned at all. He thinks as soon as it's open that Disney will have done what they need to do and we can go back and it'll be safe.
I feel the same way.
And I guess then I'm kind of like, the only difference that I think I'm going to make for our trip in June is I typically fly in, ride Magical Express, and I don't need a car. But I think in June, we're going to rent a car and have our own car.
That makes sense.
Got it. So for me, we've got to get to the point where it's normalcy again. If I've got to be wearing a mask, no thanks, I'm out.
Right.
Okay. And the reason why I look at it is my points are so expensive and so valuable, and my park tickets and my travel budget and my time off from work is so costly. I want the full Disney experience and nothing less. Okay. If I don't get the full experience, I don't feel like I'm getting a good value. So that's just my simple answer.
Now, Chad, I have a question for you. Would that include parades and fireworks?
I could handle if they came back in and gave tickets to fireworks or something like that.
Okay.
And somehow said, we're going to do 2 shows tonight.
Okay.
Even though it's like $40,000 for them to run a show.
Right.
Just so that people aren't in that big cluster, everybody on top of each other.
Right.
Okay. So that's to me, or even if they canceled them both, I'd be fine with that.
That's the same with us. We would be fine with them canceling that because it's like a people, cluster.
It would be really hard to regulate that social distancing, but that's a really good question. So moving on to some of the listener answers on this one. So Michael says I'm opening, right? And Lauren wants a full-blown bubble. Okay.
Would you run around in it like a hamster wheel through the parks? Be like this.
There you go. Right. Mike just says, hey, I just want the parks to be open.
Amen, Mike. I'm with you.
Samantha says, I'm going back to the parks as soon as I'm able. Socially distance in line or shows, wear a mask, whatever I'm required to do. Samantha's our diehard. She is going to the parks come heck or high water.
I'm with you, Sam. Yeah.
Scott says open the parks tomorrow and I'm there. No restrictions, no problem. And Gina says she's going to Disneyland, face mask and all.
Yeah. So I would look at it as I would definitely want a few things to come about that I would think things need to change. I'm a person that like our family's gotten sick a few times at Disney and that's just the regular flu. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so if this is 10 times more, you can get it 10 times easier. So what would have to change? And I think that definitely they'd have to be a lot more visible on the sanitizing, a lot more, of the touch zones. Like, so when you're waiting in line or how to wait in line would probably,
and I think people are already learning that.
So what you're saying is you're going to want something from Disney saying that they're going to enforce some of this cleanliness stuff. Right.
So they're already at the top. I mean, like I go there to learn from them and I'm like, I already know what I had to do. I expect them to do what I did and even more. So, I mean, I want them to be able to keep their 60,000 employees safe.
Yes.
Because if their employees are safe, then they won't be spreading it. I mean, I would want, definitely. Yep. And on the flip side, I mean, I don't know how to deal with this when a person walks in the door and they clearly have a fever. Have you ever sent your kids to Disney with a fever?
Well, that's where, so before all this went down, the cruise lines implemented the thermal scanning where they were checking people's temperature. And it was pretty much like an x-ray. So if you got flagged, then you had to go and you had to get secondary screening. So that I think is something they're going to implement. I know we want to move on, so I'll make this quick, but this week there was a press conference. Josh D'Amaro is on the task force, the reopening task force for Florida, as is the president of Universal. I have no idea who he is. But Ron DeSantis, our governor, said that Disney World was so far ahead of the game in thinking of what they need to do to reopen. So I am fully prepared. I fully trust what Disney's going to do. And I think that they're going to be the leaders in what the state does. The state needs to open because Central Florida is hurting. I live in South Florida. We have tourism, but we have a more diverse community. Central Florida is really, really hurting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah.
Back to the listener comments here. So Carol was saying that she wears a mask all day and she's not wearing it on vacation. And yeah,
I agree.
And man, the healthcare professionals have an edge on us as well. It makes me appreciate them even more. But Kate was saying, I agree, masks are so uncomfortable in the heat. How do you get a 3-year-old to wear them?
I
have
teach
a
3-year-old.
I have a Mickey Mouse one for my 4-year-old, and he wore it for about 10 minutes at Target, and that was it.
He might wear it, but just not in the right spots.
I teach 3-year-olds. That's not going to happen.
So Amanda put that fever is so easy to mask, and it's true. And we know that COVID is asymptomatic. But what I've heard is if you do have a fever with COVID, Tylenol doesn't work. It doesn't break. So I think that's the reason why for the temperature, that if you have a fever and you have COVID, nothing's going to bring it down. Now, a lot of people have it and are asymptomatic. So there's that too. But not that I'm not a medical professional. So I just watch the news a lot.
Yeah. Kenny was saying he wants screenings at the entrance, also bathroom attendants. I've seen too many people walk out without washing their hands.
They wouldn't even have to say anything. Just their presence would guilt you into going and washing your hands. So
yeah, just that evil stare.
Yeah.
That's
right.
a good point.
I'll teach him my teacher look. I'll teach him my teacher look.
Yep. And then Grant says, not much for me. A vaccine which corrects most issues with COVID. A vaccine would solve all of our problems, right?
Amen.
Or a really good
music. Always been present. It's just on everyone's mind at the moment. However, Disney will make it obvious they're trying to look out for everyone's best interest and feel as safe as possible. And again, no solutions will be foolproof.
Very, very true.
That's coming from a man who works every day as a cardiac surgeon. So this is a guy who knows scrubbing and cleanliness, right?
Right.
Yeah. And some of the other comments here, I think I scrolled it and lost it. Shannon was saying, I'm in healthcare. Disney germs don't scare me. I will be interested in the screening measures they implement. I think she's picking up along the lines that you had mentioned there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just self-empowering people. I mean, like, nobody wants to get sick. I mean,
and this is the interesting thing about the masks. So I think they'll allow people to wear masks.
Yeah.
But if you look at their security rules right now, you can't wear a mask because that's always been like, if you think about their security rules, if you're under 14, you can't wear a mask. So I think that's an easy thing to fix, but it's just something where, they just have to change that.
I don't think they would tell somebody they couldn't wear a medical mask. Okay. Right. But yeah,
no, I don't think, yeah. And
right?
I think they'll even encourage people to wear masks, but I don't think they'll require it.
But I've never seen them before. So maybe it was something that you weren't, I bet you can now.
I've seen them occasionally, but it's usually someone from the Asian culture.
Sorry.
Scott, you and I have the same idea.
Yep. Scott says, drink enough rum and you don't have to worry.
Amen.
Yeah.
Spice Dole Whip.
Yep. And got to get away travel. I would rather all the rides and shows be open and wear a mask. So
I'm not there.
Yeah.
But I go a lot. So
Darren was with me. I agree. We pay a lot of money to go there. And Dan was backing me up here as well. Chad, you're absolutely right. It's too expensive and you'd miss too much if the new restrictions overwhelm your trips. But again, Dan, we've seen people like Samantha who they're going to rush to the parks. Right. Okay. And more power to them. Right. I'm not judging anybody for that.
I'm kind of hoping all of you stay home.
So.
Well, and I get, because you're from California and you're close to your California park, and that is a risk. We're in a resort town as well. A lot of our locals are like, oh no, everybody's going to bring it to our tourist town. Like that's a risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have people coming from all over the world to your location.
Yeah, Grant was saying that fireworks are his favorite part of the whole experience. It's a key variable for me.
And I think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah. and
We
wearing
don't-
a mask in August would be brutal.
Oh, it would be.
Yeah.
So,
It's
and
brutal in April.
right, but see, now here's the other part, right? You've got people like Lauren who says, just give me a churro and I'm a happy girl, bubble and all. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, which is why we thought it was interesting to throw this out here as a discussion question.
I'm giggling at Lauren in her bubble running around with a churro in her mouth.
The little hamster ball.
Her hamster ball in her hands. I have to be out here to balance herself. But yeah, she has a churro in her mouth. She's just a happy girl.
Yeah. And Ron is saying it wouldn't take much for us. We're scheduled for the end of June and would definitely go if the parks are open. And if we were in the most vulnerable demographic, it would be a different answer, though.
Like even when I brought my parents there when my dad was 90, we didn't go to the parks, but we went golfing. We did like a stay vacation,
Right.
but we went golfing. We went to Disney Springs and had ice cream. And there's a lot you can do without putting yourself at too much risk.
I agree. And I think that's the key, is that if you are someone is in that vulnerable category, then yeah, you probably shouldn't go to the parks, even if they require masks.
Yeah. This is an interesting comment here as well. And we mentioned Tylenol earlier, and Amanda's writing, a fever is so easy to mask. They could take Tylenol before going to the parks and show no fever. And I think
This teacher knows that is true, because
true.
I will tell you how many kids come to school. Their moms gave them medicine, and at 10 a.m. they pop a fever. And I'm like, oh, you don't look like you feel good. Oh, you definitely don't feel good. Well, my mommy gave me Tylenol this morning. And I'm like,
But that's why I saw that comment earlier, and that's why I brought up that with the COVID. I do know I have a couple of people who their parents have had it, and the fever just doesn't break with Tylenol. You know, if they have a fever, again, a lot of people don't have a fever, don't have any symptoms. So
yeah. And Amanda follows it up with another really great comment here
I
as
agree
well.
about this one.
You know, we're very lucky to be DVC and know we'll be back. It's sad for the people who have their once in a lifetime trips planned.
yes.
And they're you know, it's heartbreaking for them. The only good news for them is they're cash paying customers. They will get their cash back and they will be able to come back again.
The people
So-
that I actually feel the sorriest for, Chad, because I do a lot of volunteering with Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
All the wish trips that have been canceled, and
It's going to be a while.
well, no, and potentially they don't get a second chance.
Yes, exactly.
And so that's been heartbreaking to be watching as in the volunteer world at Make-A-Wish.
I
as this
imagine
is
that they're
going on.
trying to make it up to them at a whole
Well, we
level.
are, believe me,
Yeah.
they're doing all kinds of things
Yes.
in the local Make-A-Wish groups, but it's still not the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If that was their
Still not
child's
the same.
wish, and
Yeah.
exactly. And
Well,
it's
and
gonna
no,
be a
and no
while.
wishes are happening. No wishes are happening.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, I mean, almost.
it makes sense.
I mean,
It makes sense.
you just can't do.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I've read that like thousands of wishes aren't going to happen as well. And that there's a huge backlog. And I know Give Kids the World is doing everything that they can. I've seen a couple of emails from them
Yep.
Me too.
and a couple of posts, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but you know, ultimately, sometimes for those families, that life changes, and then you know that wish is gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So-
I saw you were going to put Grant's comment.
Yeah. Grant says, I think masks give you a false sense of security. They will be uncomfortable in the heat. No one will wear them properly. No disposed of properly. Increased garbage and will get lost on rides. It seems impractical.
Can you imagine on the roller coaster? Woo.
Grant, can you make sure you send an email to Josh tomorrow?
Yes. Yeah.
It's my little kid pulls their mask down because I'm so hot. Don't put that up. And then they touch their face,
So
and then they touch the punny poo wall.
The putty pool.
The honey poo wall. The
Oh, the poo. Yeah, poo
The
bear.
poo wall.
Yep. And Lauren does come back in and go, seriously though, I'm not going anytime soon. My parents and family members have conditions, so I'm not risking it. And I think that's another key factor in my decision as well,
I agree.
is I'm lucky enough to still have my 80-year-old parents with me, and I want to hang on to them as long as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
Well,
So
we are already social distancing from our mothers, and I don't think that would change. My husband's a police officer, so he's still working. So we're exposed.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as we are, but we're exposed. So
Yeah, and a lot of people go to Disney as generations. Like,
Right.
So that's tough.
There you go again. You can't really go on that multi-generational trip,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
to me has the most magic as well. And
It
if
does.
you're about creating family memories, bringing grandparents along with you, aunts and uncles, that kind of a deal, that's just part of the Disney magic and part to the formula there.
I
And
agree.
you might be able to go. It just has to be a little more creative. Maybe different rooms and maybe more staycations instead of going to the sing-alongs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So moving on at this point in time, we're at our hour mark when we normally wrap up. So our game is so fun, and I'll just throw a pebble in our pond for you guys for next week, and we'll definitely get this in the agenda next week. But it's our forced choices game, and so Gina, can we throw some of the banners up there? And this will just be a pebble in your pond for next week when we come back. But it's a budget cuts edition, and we all think Disney's going to have to do some budget cuts. And so would we do like Star Wars Hotel? Would you cut the Disneyland Tower, or would you cut Reflections? Thank
I
you.
love this because, and the thing is, now it gives them a week to do some homework to
Yeah.
see what these are. So it's
Yes.
kinda fun.
So your choices are: we're going to go ahead and build it, we're going to back burner it, or we're going to bulldoze it. So wherever they're at in this progress, which of the three choices you got to line up? And so we've got some restaurants there. We've got, I think I put in the show graphics for today: Ratatouille, Tron, and the new Guardians ride.
Those
So-
e-tickets, people. Those e-tickets. It's a hard
Yeah.
choice.
Yes. So there will be some, I'll give you guys a week to think about that one. And hopefully hopefully there's parks open up soon, and we've got better news to talk about then. When's this stuff going to
Absolutely.
open back up?
The restaurants look really interesting. So I'm going to go dig on those restaurants so I can get some more intel.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are already starting to comment on those things. So we'll just have you save it for next week. And I promise you a fun, lighthearted show
Kenny's not gonna
next
like
week.
me.
Right?
It's not
So-
like me either.
Oh yeah. That's just bound to happen. Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. And thank you, Alicia, Marianne, and Shannon for co-hosting tonight. And I am with Vicky here. I am very excited to play this game with you guys next week. Have a great night, and we will see you all next Sunday night, unless you pop into trivia night on Wednesday or Friday this week.
Awesome.
Come
And
play trivia. If you haven't played trivia yet, what in the heck are you doing? You're just sitting in your house. Come play trivia. It's really, really fun.
it's really fun, and we promise we're not going to keep asking all of these hard questions. We say that
I
every
went
week.
to timeout. I went to
Right?
They sent me to timeout. I'll write easy questions next time. I've already been sent.
Got it. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great night, and we will see you guys real soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Yep.
Good night.